Is beauty more than skin deep?
We've all heard that beauty is only skin deep, which may be philosophically valid, but as far as the perception of external appearance is concerned, beauty actually goes far deeper and is at the bone structure. We intrinsically recognize a youthful face for its fullness, volume, definition, and proportionality. These attractive attributes are foundationally provided by your bone structure. Models, for example, are often described as having great bone structure or high cheekbones. As we get older, not only are there changes in the outer skin quality, but there is also diminishing facial volume. In fact, in my experience, loss of facial volume actually precedes having significant skin laxity. Generally, facial volume deficiency is more pronounced with aging. However, many people naturally have genetic bone structure deficiencies, which can be addressed when they're as young as in their 20s. As far as aging is concerned, facial volume loss, including the loss of facial fat, soft tissue, and skin thinning, but the most significant facial volume loss is at the bone structure. I'm Dr. Amiya Prasad. I'm a board-certified cosmetic surgeon and fellowship-trained oculofacial plastic and reconstructive surgeon. I've been performing facial rejuvenation surgery, including facelifts and facial implants, for over 25 years in New York City and Long Island. I routinely perform a lot of non-surgical procedures, such as injectable filler treatments to address age-related facial volume loss, as well as laser skin rejuvenation. When you understand that facial volume loss occurs mostly at the bone level, it's logical to focus on enhancing bone volume. In conventional practice, most doctors and other injectors don't address bone volume, but rather place filler at the skin level or just below the skin level at the fat and soft tissue level. Anatomically speaking, these spaces cannot retain the well-intended shapes created by these practitioners. Simply stated, the space just under the skin can't hold that much filler volume in one area, so the fillers tend to migrate, resulting in you looking bloated, soft, doughy, and obviously unnatural. This appearance has been made famous by certain celebrities and media personalities in establishing the term pillow face. This, of course, frightens a lot of people who are afraid of looking unnatural. Every day in my practice, I educate my patients that filler itself isn't what leads to the pillow face look, but rather the way the filler was placed. What I do in my practice to treat volumetric bone loss is by placing fillers at the bone level. Most practitioners do not do this, as bone level placement requires specific technical knowledge and experience, in my opinion. Although this is a non-surgical procedure using injectable hyaluronic acid fillers, I feel that surgical knowledge derived from experience with facelift and facial implant surgery helps me to place the filler at the bone level with a high level of accuracy. The bone structure is a solid foundational structure of the face at the deepest level. This foundational stability allows for more filler material to be placed than is conventionally performed in order to create defined and proportional appearances, which at the same time looks natural. This is somewhat counterintuitive, since it's often assumed that people who look doughy have too much filler in their faces. This is to a degree somewhat accurate in that they may have had less volume than I would place at the bone level, but what they have is too much volume for the more superficial space the filler is located in. I'm often asked why the filler doesn't spread out with my approach like it does in other people who look pillowy. Essentially, I place the filler at the bone level, which has muscle structure on top of the bone. The muscle layer over the bone appears to hold the filler in place and prevents the filler migration that everyone is afraid of. Our patients often report that their friends and family say they look great, but they can't pinpoint exactly why. Since adding foundational volume restores much of the lost support structure of the face, the skin gains back its support, resulting in a lifting effect to the skin. We call this technique structural volumizing, as the filler volume is restoring facial structure. It can be considered a non-surgical facelift for people in their 40s and 50s who don't have significant skin laxity. I must emphasize, this is not a replacement for a surgical facelift, but rather a technique to address a problem that a facelift does not address. In fact, many of my patients have had previous facelift surgery and are delighted to have structural volumizing rather than having to undergo another facelift. For structural volumizing, I use thicker hyaluronic acid fillers that can last 1 to 2 years. Hyaluronic acid naturally occurs in the body, so these fillers are safely and gradually metabolized with time. Hyaluronic acid fillers can also be dissolved with the injectable enzyme hyaluronidase, should the need arise. If you're looking into facial rejuvenation, remember that a youthful appearance is not just the skin, but the bone structure that supports the skin. If we've learned anything from the past, over-tightened skin is not youthful. In my opinion, looking youthful can be better characterized as looking healthy and vibrant. You can achieve this with the right balance of volume, proportion, and definition. I hope this information from my experience helped you. If you're interested in recommendations for your individual situation, you may contact us through our websites or call our offices to schedule a consultation. Thank you.